In Australia, between 2009 and 2011, we took in 107,868 skilled migrants. So, Australia's looking overseas. The workers are coming from the UK, China, India, South Africa, and the Philippines.
The role of the government is to bring forth and enforce laws that bring immigrants that are beneficial to Australia.
Australia spends $38 million enhancing immigration settlement services. Because of the recent high demand for workers, Australian Immigration Minister Chris Bowen and Parliamentary Secretary for Immigration and Multicultural Affairs, Senator Kay Lundy, announced that the government is willing to shell out as much as $38 million in the next financial year in order to improve the condition of migrants and help them settle into their new communities.
Most of the treaties and agreements with other countries regarding immigration focus on cooperation with Indonesia in stopping illegal asylum seekers from arriving on Australian shores.
The Australian Defence Force has released video footage from last week's tragic Mid-Sea incident, which killed and injured asylum seekers on board a small boat. The boat had an explosion as it was carrying 47 Afghan asylum seekers on their way to the Christmas Island Detention Centre.
The government debate towards this issue has stirred some concern among some of the citizens of this country. Our stations had looked into this to get a better insight and shed more light on one issue.
Australia could take many more migrants, and these people are just people, and there's no reason not to give them a fair go and let them in the country.
No, I think that when the Navy picked up those people yesterday, they should have taken them back to Indonesia, not brought them to Australia.
No, they need to do something. They need to do more, and need to do it quickly too.
When the Australian government saw the public view on this, they decided to finally take action.
Processing centres for asylum seekers are one step closer to returning after the bill passed the lower house. But the United Nations is critical of plans to leave asylum seekers indefinitely on Nauru.
Australia has hardly benefited from the increase of migrants entering this country. Not in one, but in many different ways, such as culturally, economically, and geopolitical.
Speaking culturally, migration results in a more diverse nation, creating a great mix of traditions, languages, music, and food that enriches our lifestyle.
The only real disadvantage when it comes to the effect of migration on Australian culture is racism and conflict.
Many people in Australia discriminate other cultural groups in the country because they feel as if they are a threat to their original heritage and background.
I'm Australian, born in Australia, but my parents are from Morocco. But that's not the point. The point of this video is to talk about racism in Australia, because I know it happens on a daily basis to someone out there. How many of us here, Aussies, always complain, saying, there's Indians, Arabs, Wogs, Asians take our jobs. So if you crack down the problem, the real problem is you don't want to work. Hence why you have these Wogs, Indians, Arabs and Asians working the jobs you don't want to work. How many of us have heard an Aussie say, you're not a true Aussie, you don't know what's best for the country, why do you care about Australia, go back to your own country, or anything along those lines, of the fact that you're not an Aussie, and if you don't like it, go back to your own country.
When it comes to economics, migration generates a high percentage of employment opportunities and investment in the Australian economy. Also, as more cultures start to move in and link with other countries.
But the cost of dealing with people migrating illegally greatly drains Australia's economy, as the federal government has already realized.
Australians expressed concerns about the economy and illegal immigration at a town hall meeting in Brisbane on Wednesday. The meeting was hosted by Prime Minister Julia Gillard and Conservative opposition leader Tony Abbott. Australians will go to polls on August 21st to vote in a new leader or stick with the incumbent. At the meeting, several hundred undecided voters were given the opportunity to drill the candidates on important issues. Tony Abbott focused on clamping down on illegal immigration, specifically those who arrive by boat, as a means of improving the job market and hence the economy.
Geopolitical advantages regarding migration in Australia surrounds the fact that accepting refugees greatly boosts our relationship with other countries. But a geopolitical disadvantage is the criticism Australia has drawn in thanks to people smuggling.
Australia has always had a rough history when it comes to social justice and equality that is still evident today.
This is most likely talked about in the topic of asylum seekers, or the so-called boat people entering Australia, often referred to as queue jumpers and said to be fake refugees.
They're some of the most desperate people on the planet, fleeing their war-torn homes, paying people smugglers their life savings to board ill-equipped boats in Indonesia for a risky journey they hope will lead to a better life. But in Australia, a country built on immigration, they're known as boat people, demonised as threats to national security who jump the queue of those legally applying for refugee status. In the working-class Western Sydney electorate of Lindsay, what to do with these asylum seekers is a hot election issue.
All of the factors and topics shown highly impact the future of this country, especially in terms of population. In only a few years, Australia's population is estimated to grow more than 4 to 5 million people thanks to migration alone.
More nationalities coming in, this could also mean more racial discrimination between certain races. But with more culture comes a greater enriched lifestyle for the Australian population.